man. Oh, man, oh, man. If you need a video wall for your business, for your hospital, university, college, high school, law firm, your next video wall should be powered by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com. That's Sound and Communications. Your next video wall for your business, for your school, for your church is powered by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com. They've been doing it since the 50s. They've done it for Texas A&M, MSU, Southern Miss, Pro, NFL. I mean, they've done sound in arenas, stadiums, but your next video wall is powered by Sound and Communications. We welcome in our friend, LSU Saints NFL College Insider Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Mike D, now that we know that Carson Beck is out for Georgia, how do you feel about Georgia's run? Obviously, they did what they need to do, and give Gunnar Stockton credit, along with many other players against Texas. Do you still believe that they can win the whole thing, Mike D?
Yeah, I think they can. They win up front, offensive, defensive line. Their running game is really strong. Man, they got some athletes in the secondary. So I think they still can. And now, you don't play for weeks now. So you can get your quarterback ready to play. And that's the big difference from maybe years ago when that really you didn't have a lot of time. And so to see this, I think Georgia, because of how they structured, yeah, they still have a fighting chance here. And to think about, this could be another Georgia-Notre Dame kind of game in the Sugar Bowl here on January 1st.
That'd be incredible. So Mike D's referencing that the winner of Indiana-Notre Dame at Notre Dame will then come to the Sugar Bowl and play the Georgia Bulldogs, which could be, you're talking about two monster alumni bases, and they would take over New Orleans, and that could be a super ton of fun. We're visiting with Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show. Who do you like? All right. Would you be surprised if we get a Georgia-Texas number 3 rematch in the national championship game?
To be honest, yeah. I think I'd be surprised with that. That game against Georgia kind of showed a lot of the flaws that Texas has. They vulnerable to a quarterback that'll take off and run downfield, even though I think their front defensive line is really, really good. There is some vulnerability there in that back seven. The other part, too, man, they've had trouble manufacturing points. And how much longer are we going to go with Quinn Ewers? How much longer is that going to roll? He has struggled in crucial moments of a game. He does not have great mobility at all. He's a rail-thin quarterback, and he's been rocked around. But his lack of really good mobility skills showed up against Georgia, where he had some opportunities to take off, run with it, decided not to. And I think, if you're going for the whole ball of wax, everything's going to have to work. I think for Texas, and last year was a really good run for them, I don't know that, you'll see that again. I just see if I'm playing them, they've got immense talent, but they have some major flaws on that team and in certain areas. And Georgia brought it out. It's not that Georgia's going to blow you out the water scoring points. But they do an awesome job of kind of setting you up, and they get points out of it. I was so impressed with what Georgia did against Texas. I felt Texas had more players than Georgia. And I think, again, I got a lot of respect for Sark. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the game. But, Kirby played a little chess with him. And again, in the second half, who had the better quarterback play, Georgia or Texas?
Georgia.
Exactly. And now you're talking about a guy who's been there forever in Quinn Ewers. I mean, so, man, would you think about it if it gets off to another slow start? Would you think about saying, Arch, get in there. Bring it to us.
Would you have already made the move, Mike D, to Arch?
In that third quarter when it ended, my first thought was, the people that were here was, man, they got to go with Arch. Because you could see it wasn't going to get better. Because one thing with yours, with Quinn, he does a nice job in certain areas, but if he's not on early, then he's not going to be on. And I thought you needed the presence of a running game by the quarterback to kind of bail your way out. And it would have given you a different look. I think, Texas was kind of shocked a little bit about how well Georgia's quarterback could move around. Now, all of us who kind of saw a little bit of him in high school and film and watched the few times that he played knew he can move really well. The one thing with Arch, he can move pretty well. I think that's what got SMU in. Yeah, at the end of the half, Alabama has punched their ticket to the top 12. And the quarterback for SMU really got him back in the game. He bought a lot of time, was able to maneuver around the pocket. He threw well off the run, and he got him back. Tie the game, then you give up the long kickoff return and the field goal by Ewers. So I think, man, there is something about that dimension, that ability to run with the football, and he just puts so many pressure points on every defense.
Mike Detillier on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. You're listening to Out of Bounds, and your next video wall is powered by Sound and Communications. All right, Mike D. Carson Beck looks like UCL. What does that do? That could take a while. So what does that do for his draft stock? You had Shador and then Cam and then Beck and then Milroe, I think, but you still had Milroe going in the first round. Where are you now with Carson Beck after the injury?
That I would have to throw to, if I'm an NFL team, I want to throw to my medical staff. And what's the progress with him? I don't have to make that decision up now.
Right.
It would be an April decision for me. And, I would want to get him checked out not only by his doctors, but my doctors. Okay, that's the ones I want to trust, my doctors. And it does put it a lot in question. Anytime you have that sort of injury, it has been an injury that guys have come back from. How far or how quickly he bounces back. The one thing about being young, Bo, your body has a way of bouncing back a lot quicker than when you get older.
Amen to that.
Hey, you're talking to the choir here.
Oh, Mike D on the Out of Bounds show. Okay, I had a friend that's heavily involved in the NFL, and I respect his opinion like yours. And he said he wouldn't be surprised if Shador separates himself over the next 4 months and makes it an easier choice, even though he loves Cam Ward from Miami. Could you see that unfolding over the next 4 months, Mike D?
Yeah, I think it could happen. Again, I think it's pretty close between the two. And there is another season to this. People don't get it. It's winning the off season too. How well those players win, not only for how they work out, how they interview with different teams. And I would think Shador probably has, the majority of teams with him 1 and Cam 2. I will say this. I think Cam could do that also. So it's not real definitive now, but I would say Sanders is going to be the guy. And when you look at those teams at the top of the first round, if it's the Raiders and the Giants, man, I just saw the Giants. They lousy. I mean, they could use players everywhere, but man, the quarterback position is horrible for them. You look at the Raiders, the same thing. Man, I look at the last two guys that got picked second. They turned out pretty good, right? C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels.
Good point.
That's not the worst thing in the world.
No, that you make a great point there. So we'll see what happens with Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, possibly someone else. As Mike D said last week, all these guys are going to look really good in these drills, and I mean they're just freaky athletes. Milroe's going to look great in these drills too.
He sure will.
Yeah.
Bo, I think that is something a lot of people, he can't do this and he can't do that. Okay, I said, you sort of know by now what he's good at and what he's not. But this offseason is so critical for him. I know about his work ethic, his attention to detail. His athleticism is off the charts good. And I think he's going to win the offseason. And I don't have to convince 32 teams. Just one.
Yeah.
Just one. That's all I got to convince. That, hey, I can play in this league, and they always have a Dr. Phil in the NFL. I can take him, and I can make him, a star quarterback. There's always those guys, man, believe me. They all got the answer to everything. So he's a kind of a wild card at the present because when you look across the board, his body of work probably wouldn't get him a first-round pick grade, but I do know about what happens in the offseason.
Mm-hmm. Mike D started off with, hey, Sark and Texas may want to take a long, hard look at Arch Manning, maybe trying to navigate his way through these playoffs, because Quinn has been given, an opportunity time and time again, and here we are. And you got to look good against and be able to perform against some of these teams. This weekend, Mike D, is interesting to me. I mean, that Saints-Giants game, like you said, was tough to watch. Golly. Yeah, it was terrible. I was with some gung-ho Saints fans, and even they were struggling. But with Jaden Daniels coming in this weekend, I'm going to be there. I can't wait to go just to kind of see the whole thing. What do you think the crowd will be like, considering Jaden's career at LSU and capping it off with the Heisman, but knowing that, obviously the majority of people down there pull for the Saints? How will that look this weekend, Mike D?
I think most people there's a lot of kind of crossover fans with LSU and Saints. He's going to get a great ovation there. People understand just what he meant to that LSU team last year. And I really think, the Saints have had difficulties stopping running quarterbacks. Drew Lock gained over 50 yards last Sunday against the Saints. If he gained 50, what the hell is Jaden Daniels going to do? Man. And so, I think he's going to be met well. We have on Joe's dad quite a bit, Mr. Jimmy, and he said, when Joe went back and they played a couple years ago against the Saints, the ovation for Joe Burrow was as strong as anybody's. Introduced that thing. And you would figure in typical Joe Burrow style, it's a close game late. And he throws a little flare pass out in the flat to, of all people, Jamar Chase. And Jamar takes it to the house. And that ends up being the winning score. And you would have swore you were playing in Cincinnati when Jamar scored. I mean, that was a lot of people pulling for both Jamar and also for Joe Burrow. To watch Jamar today, he's the best receiver in the game. You just see this year he's in a class by himself. His ability to get away from defensive backs, he can juke you out your socks. He's got another gear speed-wise and open field. And the one thing with Jamar, he's open all the time. Just ask him.
God, he's a great player. Both of them are. They don't have a lot of help on the other side of the ball. But
no, they don't. They got one guy. They got Trey Hendrickson.
Man.
That dude flat out is a player. And again, it goes back to a decision that I think really came into the lap of Sean Payton. Sean saw the physical ability and the most dreaded word in sports, potential, in Marcus Davenport. They couldn't pay both. They decided to go with Davenport. It was a first-round pick and a guy Sean lobbied for over Trey. And it ended up not being the right choice.
Ooh. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. He's on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Saints Commanders this weekend, by the way. Jaden Daniels comes back home, so to speak. So we'll see how that looks. It looks like the Saints could win their way out of a top 10 pick, and we'll also monitor that. I do want to ask you about Jackson Arnold, Mike D. He's a young player. They went through multiple offensive coordinators this year. They lost their top 5 wide receivers by Labor Day, which was weird for Oklahoma. So they never got rolling on offense. He didn't play particularly well against LSU, but he didn't have a lot of help. The week before against Alabama, he ran for 131 yards on Roll Tide. As a young quarterback, what do you like about Jackson Arnold, Mike D?
One, he could move like hell. I mean, you got some difficulties trying to lay your mitts on him. I think he's a better passer than people give him credit for. He is streaky as a quarterback, and there's some mechanical flaws in him that I think could be worked out. Put him on an Oregon team, okay, and see what you got. You might have something there. And, I mean, he's going to have a host of people after him, really will, because you see the size, physical potential with him. No one can question his mobility and his running skills. He is a streaky passer. That part is a part of his game. But if I would have told you 3 years ago that Bo Nix would be as good as he is today, coming off 2 seasons at Oregon, would you have believed me?
No.
It's funny how, right place, right time, right system all works for quarterbacks. And I think Jackson's going to be a quarterback in very big demand. The same thing with Tulane's quarterback in Darian Mensah. I think he is going to be in great demand. First time I saw him, man, it popped into my mind quickly of who he reminded me of. And it was a young Jordan Love at Utah State.
Oh.
He's sort of built the same. He throws similar. The mechanics are almost identical. He can run with the football pretty well. And, he comes to Manning camp and, he just tells you his story about how he got there and ends up at Utah State. And he's a sort of a natural leader, and so is Darian. And that's why he's in the portal. He's going to have a lot of big-time schools after him. So, it is playing musical chairs with the quarterback position. But to answer your question with Jackson Arnold, I think he's got a chance in the right system to become a very, very good player at the college level.
Jeff Lebby, who recruited him to Oklahoma, and Mississippi State making a strong run for Jackson Arnold out of Oklahoma. But as Mike said, he'll have other suitors, as many of these QBs will. Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show. All right, Mike D., we've only got a couple of minutes. The Saints, do you think it's a deal where regardless of where they land or fall in the draft, that they're going to strongly consider? In other words, if they're middle of the first round, they may look at a Milroe. But do you think that they take a strong look at a quarterback regardless of what happens?
I think you have to. If you're the Saints, you don't have you might hope Spencer Rattler's the guy. Do you really know? And the answer is no at this stage. the little you've seen of Spencer in a professional game, a real one, he struggled, really struggled. So how does a new regime measure Spencer Rattler? I think we know what the Dennis Allen coaching staff thinks of him, but what is the next staff going to think of him? So, yeah, you got to seriously consider going quarterback there, but you got a ton of holes here on this team. Defensive tackle, you got to look at sort of rebuilding your offensive line. I think receiver is an area of great need for them. It would have to be the exact right receiver for me, because I would value a defensive tackle or an offensive lineman more so than the receiver at this stage. Not that there aren't great receivers that get picked in round one, but I think I can get me a guy that's pretty good in the second round.
No doubt. This day is as deep as that position is in college football now that people throw it so much. All right, Mike D., I hope you have a great week. I hope I can catch you on your pregame show for a minute this weekend, and we appreciate you, man. Take care.
Thanks so much, Bo. Appreciate it.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, and that interview was brought to you by Sound and Communications. For your next video wall for your college, high school, business, law firm, architect firm, technology company, CPA firm, powered by SoundComAV.com. Your next video wall is powered by Sound and Communications. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Has Jeff Lebby already closed the Jackson Arnold deal, or will he close it? Looks like Mario Craver's gone. And Michael Van Buren headed somewhere else, and we'll see what plays out here. Jeff Lebby knows Jackson Arnold. He recruited him to Oklahoma. That'd be a nice get, nice pickup for Jeff Lebby in Mississippi State. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by BetMGM is the king of sports books, and Beau Ravage's BetMGM Book Bar and Grill is the South's premier Vegas-style sports book. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill, only at the Beau Rivage on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Back in a second.